Yoane Wissa has finally spoken out. He has broken his silence at Brentford regarding what is going on with his move. He wants away. He has put a statement out explaining the whole situation to the fan base. We're going to take a look at the whole statement in detail. Let's go. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Toon Review. My name's Paul. This is your latest Newcastle United news. And the news that we're bringing you today is on Yoane Wissa. He has finally broken his silence with regards to his move away from Brentford and what it's all about and what his side of the story is as he is pushing for a move to Newcastle United before the end of the transfer window. It is a fascinating statement, and I'm going to read it out from Keith Downey's X post today because he posted the whole thing. So we're going to go through it and let's see what Yoane Wissa has to say on this whole saga that's been going on over the summer. He starts off saying, over the past few weeks, there's been an increased speculation about my future at Brentford Football Club. As a result, I wanted to speak directly and honestly about exactly where things stand. So he started off his statement a little bit like the rat. So make of that what you will. But he just wants to put his side of the story across in this statement. I have stayed silent for much of the summer, but with hours just remaining in the transfer window, I feel compelled to make it clear that I want to leave Brentford. I believe the club are unduly standing in my way despite a series of fair offers throughout the summer. Now, obviously, those fair offers, he's talking about Newcastle United. They're the only club that have been making offers for him. Of course, Brentford have turned them down, turned them away. You know, he's not going to be moving, everything like that. Now, this is obviously at the start of the summer, we were led to believe that Wissa had promises from Brentford, which he'll come on to further on in this statement. He says, I've always given 100% for Brentford since the day I signed back in 2021. I am proud of what we have built together and have never taken the opportunity to play for the club for granted. So a very, very heartfelt message to Brentford saying, look, he's done everything he can since he's been there. He says, Brentford fans will always have a special place in my heart. And I have always conducted myself professionally, both on and off the pitch. It has been a privilege to wear this shirt for 149 games and celebrate 49 goals. Now, you look to the Isak statement, and he never mentioned the fans once. Nothing was directed at the fans to say thank you for your support or anything like that. Wissa has. Now, whether this means anything, I'm not 100% sure. But obviously, he wants to thank the fans for the support that he's been given since he signed for the football club. So, a very nice thing to say, mentioning the fans, which, of course, the rat didn't. He says, earlier this summer, I held open discussions with the club's senior management, including key directors and the new head coach. I made clear my intentions to explore a new challenge. Now, we were led to believe that when Wissa said he was promised XYZ from Brentford, that this had come from maybe Thomas Frank, who has now, of course, departed for Tottenham. That was what our belief was, that maybe Wissa had been told by someone that isn't at the club anymore. And that sounds very familiar to, of course, the situation with Alexander Isak. Was he told something by an official who is no longer at the club? He said, during these conversations, it was confirmed to me and my representatives that the club would not stand in my way if a reasonable offer was received. And this was also put in writing. So again, very, very different to what Isak's situation is. Wissa got this put in writing. Now, for me, that says a great deal as to where this situation is a little bit different to what, Isak is at Newcastle. Because Isak, it's just one word against another. The club have since come out and said that he wasn't promised anything like that. However, Wissa has it in writing. And he goes on to say, Based on the understanding, I sought to find a new club, keeping Brentford informed with full transparency at every stage. I received a formal offer from another Premier League club and communicated I wanted to join. I was under the impression from all my conversations with Brentford that there was a mutual agreement to part ways. So he's gone. Obviously, Newcastle United are that other Premier League side. There's no doubt about that. There's no hiding that fact. Obviously, he is not going to mention Newcastle United directly. However, we all know it is Newcastle. And that he wanted to join. I don't think there's been any question of that in the summer either, that he wants to sign for Newcastle United. Now, it's very strange because, the formal offer came in and Wissa was promised that a decent offer or a satisfactory offer. But then, of course, Brentford have over the summer put the price up for Wissa. We all know that. The price of this guy has gone up and up and up since Newcastle United first opened negotiations. It goes on to say, yet as the window comes to an end, the club has now significantly changed its position, going against what was communicated. This has left me in a difficult and frustrating position. The promise that I could leave this summer has not been fulfilled. It saddens me to have to write this, and I maintain total respect for the club and its fans. So once again, despite the problem he has, he mentions the fans again and that he still has full respect for the club. But he's very disappointed, obviously, with the way things have panned out over the summer to what he got in writing at the beginning of the transfer window. He says, I want to make it clear that I have not acted unprofessionally, nor do I wish to leave Brentford on bad terms. I have been transparent in my position throughout. I have continued to communicate openly with the club and conduct myself in a way that reflects my values as both a footballer and a human being. Now that's, again, he's really diving into things there. So he's sort of taking a step back from football as well and communicating across what he feels as a human being. Being promised something and have it in writing, which everybody tells you to get because it substantially backs up everything. If you've just got a verbal agreement, they stand for nothing these days. We know that. However, in the situation with Wissa, he got it in writing as everybody tells you to do. But he feels that Brentford have really changed the ways over the course of a few weeks. But as a human being, he feels let down, but doesn't want to leave Brentford on bad terms. I think that's an interesting thing to say. He says, I remain hopeful that a fair and reasonable resolution can still be found before the transfer window shuts. In the meantime, I must do what I feel is right for my career and family, and insist that Brentford honour their promise to let me join the new club and at a fair price. So again, he's mentioning the price because we all know that Brentford have substantially increased the price from the early days of Newcastle United putting a bid in for him. And that's obviously been a big letdown because from Vissa's point of view and Vissa's representative's point of view, there was a fair price offered for Wissa given his age. I mean, we've all spoke about the offers that were put in for Wissa and, there's no way he is now worth £60 million at his age. It's just not right. He says, I want to thank all Brentford fans for their support and understanding during this difficult situation. Your energy and belief in me has always meant a great deal. This has never been about walking away from what is a fantastic football club. It's about being allowed to move forward with Brentford's blessing based on repeated promises that I could leave for a new chapter this summer. Being made to stay beyond this summer will only tarnish 4 wonderful years at this incredible club, so I ask Brentford's owners and directors to now honour their promise to let me leave in the final hours of the window. I think the whole thing is fascinating. Now look, I must reiterate here that we don't want to seem like we're hypocritical of certainly what's going on at Brentford to what's going on with Isak. But I do genuinely, I've always said this, I think the situations are different. Do I agree with the player's actions? Not necessarily, no. But he certainly makes it clear that he had that in writing from Brentford's top brass. And if you've got it in writing, you have, like I said before, a substantial backup to whatever you've been told because you've got it in writing. Everybody tells you to get these agreements in writing and not handshakes or verbal agreements. Now, from Vissa's point of view, as a footballer, he is now the sort of coming at the back end of his career. He believes that this will be the last chance for him to play in a major tournament like the Champions League. You know, wherever you play football, your dream is to always reach that achievement of playing for or playing in the biggest tournaments in the world. And as far as I'm concerned, the Champions League is the biggest club tournament in the world. Forget the Club World Cup. That's bollocks. What I'm saying is the Champions League has always been the pinnacle, hasn't it? And that's where Wissa wants to play. So from the player's point of view, if he's had it in writing from Brentford, and that's his belief that he wants to play Champions League because he is coming into the latter part of his career, then of course he's going to be upset. And, don't get me wrong here. There's ways and means of going about getting a move, and we've said that for months now about the Isak situation. That there's ways and means of doing it. You have to communicate properly. You have to act like adults through the whole procedure. But to me, reading that statement, Wissa has done what he's needed to do. You know, at the start, he spoke about the position with the directors and the current manager, and he got it in writing that Brentford would let him go should a fair offer come in for him. And it did. It did come in for him. And clearly, Wissa and his representatives believe that offer from Newcastle United was a good enough offer to let him go. Brentford have since slammed the door on that. So there is a real stalemate down there at the moment, but it's clear that Wissa wants to join Newcastle. So I think if Newcastle can go back and maybe just over the next 24, 48 hours before the window closes, go in and get the deal done, because we've got a player there who is sitting there wanting badly to play for Newcastle United. We badly need another striker coming in. Forget the fucking rat, right? I don't really care what happens to him. You know, if he stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes, as far as I'm concerned. If he comes back in the frame, then we'll talk about him again. But at the minute, he doesn't want anything to do with Newcastle United, yet we have a player there that does. And given from what he said on that statement, he deserves a move. He's been promised and he's got it in writing. So legally, he is in a very, very good standing with Brentford, but he doesn't want to push that narrative. We've seen that in the statement. He wants to remain respectful to Brentford. And that statement there mentions the fans 3 or 4 times. Isak didn't even mention the fans not once. So I feel a bit sorry for Wissa. I must admit, whether I agree with what he's doing, staying away or pushing for a move, this kind of thing, we can't show that narrative to every team. Football clubs can't allow that to happen. But if he's agreed and got it in writing, actually in writing, then I don't think Brentford have much of a foot to stand on, to be honest, if he's got all that information that he agreed with Brentford in writing. That makes a big, big difference to what the Isak situation is. It's word of mouth as far as I'm concerned with Isak, and I don't believe a fucking word that comes out of it. But if Vissa's got it in writing, there's a huge difference. So listen, do I expect this transfer to happen? I still don't know. I'm still not 100% sure. I mean, look, we're in the last 48 hours now. Developments in the transfer window will happen very, very quickly. Extremely quickly. And Eddie Howe said in his press conference that we are going to be active. We are going to try and bring in another player or two. And I think we will. And I think Wissa may well be the one, because given that he's now come out in public to say that he has that agreement in writing, that makes a big difference for me. And I don't think Brentford will want to rock the boat, certainly on legal terms and things like that. It's going to be a very interesting last 48 hours, folks. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm fascinated to know what you think of this statement and what Wissa has actually said. Is he in the right now because he has actually got it in writing, the agreement that was decided at the beginning of the transfer window? Isak, the bullshit that's come from his representatives, but it's very different when you get it in writing. So I'm fascinated to know what you guys think. Vissa's situation is a little bit different to Isak's. Whether you agree with the player's stance or what he's doing, just the fact he's got everything in writing makes a huge difference for me. What do you guys think? Let me know, and if you have enjoyed the video, guys, hit that thumbs up button. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you're new around here and you like what you see, please do subscribe. It is completely free. All that we ask for is that you hit that notification bell so you never miss any uploads like this or any future live shows. If you're watching this on Sunday, do tune in for 7 o'clock tonight. We've got the review of the Leeds game, and we'll also bring you up to date with all the very latest news going on with Newcastle United and transfers. And of course, we'll get Billy and Alex's views on Vissa's statement. But until then, thanks for watching. Take care.